This is a revolution. This is a globalist takeover by every stretch of the imagination. It is tyranny. So, we're going to break all that down. Huge developments with the NATO situation. Warning Russia over incursions into Turkish airspace now, because the al-Qaeda forces build up on the Turkish side and on the Iraq side and then inject in to attack, a lot of times getting Turkish artillery support, of course. This is a major military operation, Western run. And Zbigniew Brzezinski saying, let's go ahead and strike Russia. Because, you know, he's got access, the former national security advisor, to the bunkers, I guess, so he thinks he can live through a nuclear war. He just wants to go start wars with Russian allies and invade them with proxy armies. NATO's now saying Russian ground troops are in Syria. Turkey's airspace has been violated again, they say. And yes, there are thousands and thousands of Russian troops reportedly a day now being injected in. This is big. This is big. Russia knows it's going to face a major Saudi NATO counteroffensive, and so it believes it's injecting enough troops in to protect its air force as it engages the NATO proxy army and NATO mercenaries in what could shape up to be the next big world war. We are ruled by a social engineering class that uses our goodwill, our humanity against us. They guilt us into signing on and at least passively acquiescing to their global hegemonic planetary corporate government that is anti-human, that is very close to completing the establishment of a global army, a global tax, and global courts, and global bureaucrats, global political and religious magistrates to carry out the agenda, which is not some Star Trekian kumbaya peace fleet going into space together to help little green men. No, it is a technocracy meant to end humanity as we know it, so the elite can transcend and become gods. I'm not saying they're going to achieve that. That's their cosmology. That's their cult religion. That's what these people believe. It's what they're pushing for. It's their goal. And this transmission is just an ongoing chronicle of humanity fighting against these tyrants and tracking what the tyrants are engaged in so that humanity can begin to get mobilized, organized in defense of human liberty. And I know we'll be successful because as the globalist program unfolds, people will then go back and listen to what we've said, what we've written, what we have exposed, as they're now doing, and will understand that we do have our finger on the global pulse. We do have our finger on the zeitgeist. We do understand how the elite operate. We do know what their end game is, and we know how to stop it. And the future that we're promoting is an open source, free humanity, non-utopia. But it is not a dystopia. It is free will and the great animating contest of liberty. That's what I stand for. That's what we stand for. That's what the InfoWar is. The truth will set you free, and we are seeking it. We don't have a corner on the truth. We don't have 100% truth, but our hearts are looking for truth. Our souls are pointed at the truth like our North Star. Obviously, we have a giant transmission today. The enemy is launching its attack on humanity on every front. The social attacks on the family, the attacks on world currencies, the attacks on rural communities, the attacks on producers, the attacks on free market, the attacks on small businesses, the attacks on sovereignty. Western world flooded with immigrant populations, put on government payroll immediately to be a destabilization force and to drive down wages. We're seeing religious leaders from Protestant, Catholic, to Buddhist, to Islamic, getting in line with the big banks, calling for a one-world government, calling for UN control. We're seeing the Pope promote world government. We're seeing the TPP signed and agreed to, yes, sections we've got admit it ends internet freedom as we know it, expands copyright to free speech, creates draconian attacks on whistleblowers, shuts down domestic businesses that aren't in line with global regulations, creates planetary taxes, creates internet taxes, and every other nightmare you can imagine. I mean, it's so over the top. Forced GMOs worldwide, forced medical standards worldwide, basically Obamacare worldwide, where insurance companies can break down other people's laws and double and triple charge so they can gouge you on medicine prices. I mean, you want a crony capitalist fascist gang rape wrapped in a big, giant communist tortilla. You're getting it. Invasions of almost every sector of northern, eastern, western, and central Africa with Al-Qaeda, Western-funded, Saudi Arabian quarterback jihad forces. Then NATO comes in through African and takes over in the response to the Al-Qaeda mercenaries who are only the pretext for the West to be there. Even African leaders are saying, we think we're battling Al-Qaeda, then we see it's white mercenaries from Africa, from France, from Germany, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, and from England. It's on, folks. Proxy armies have been launched out of Saudi Arabia and Turkey against Libya, against Egypt, against Syria, against Iraq. It is a giant proxy war starting a Shiite-Sunni civil war worldwide, flooding Asia, flooding Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Southern Russia, Western Europe, the UK, the United States, Canada, Australia, with the actual Sunni refugees of the conflicts that Saudi Arabia started. These are not Shiite, these are not Alawite, these are not Christian refugees. That's now on record. They'll use that next phase of the operation to further destabilize the West and then have the security services pretext to come in and really take everybody's liberties. Then they'll do another bait and switch, what they've already done, to announce, oh, the enemy isn't radical Islam, it's the veterans, the gun owners, the conservatives, the libertarians, just as they signed a global agreement a week ago that's gotten almost no press. InfoWars didn't even cover it. Drudge Report linked to Breitbart covering it. That's why it's good that there's other organizations out there, because I can't keep track of how fast this is moving. That a global agreement was signed with, in fact, you bring that out of my stack from yesterday, we have the Justice Department's own announcement. It's not just on Breitbart. This is not just our opinion. Saying we're preparing a UN force with local mayors to be deputized under the UN, under UN speech regulations, to go after right-wing extremists, libertarians, gun owners, veterans, and follow the Homeland Security Guidebook on threats, which again states returning vets, veterans, gun owners, Christians are the enemy. And then all the sheriffs around the country saying, we've got armored vehicles for the American people, for the veterans, for the constitutionalists, for the gun owners. These are quotes. Here's the headline: Obama administration and UN announced global police force to fight extremism in the U.S. And if you read down, they have the quotes: mobilizing the mayors under munization. That's UN control. Remember Arnold 5 years ago when he went to the big Copenhagen, Denmark World Government Treaty for the carbon tax? And when they couldn't get it passed, he said, that's fine, I will lead the Governor Association, and the Mayoral Association wasn't governed anymore, but I'm going to organize the mayors mainly to implement carbon taxes. They're now doing it. They're now doing it. This is the beginning of World War IV. But World War IV, because again, the Pentagon, if you read deeply, and you read PNAC as well, Rebuilding America's Defenses and other documents by top think tanks, they call the Cold War, the Middle Eastern wars, all the other skirmish wars, from the end of Korea, right through Vietnam, immigrant flood war. It is proxy war. It is overthrowing states at an accelerated rate. This is, in their words, look it up, World War IV. We are now in World War IV. And it just hit me before the show today that I've read all their documents. I mean, I've gone over their research. I've covered this before. We talked about the global destabilization program that was coming. This is now it. This is World War IV. And this is why we've said you can see the ominous storm clouds. You can feel the concern in your gut, your spirit. You can see all the signs. You can see the preparations. You can see it in the world leaders' eyes. Because the globalists that own the mega banks and that own the big central corporations, they run the politicians and the generals. Politicians and the generals just want to go play golf and visit their mistress after work. Some of them want more power, obviously, and they want a global government so that they can be powerful in that next level. And so many of them are very, very evil. But when you get above the people that are the minions and you get to the real controllers, these are very, very, very twisted, very, very committed to evil, very, very wicked, very, very dark people.